This week on Forever Spinning, we jump back to 1970 as we look at the album that basically created heavy metal as we enjoy the rich history of Black Sabbath's Paranoid.
Perfect.
Following the release of their debut self-titled album, Black Sabbath had already made a name for themselves. With Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums, the band was already gearing up for their next record, the subject of today's episode, Paranoid. In an attempt to carry the momentum of their 1970 release, the band went back into the studio a mere 4 months after the release of their debut. They came back firing on all cylinders, crafting a record unlike any other at the time. With themes of depression, Satanism, and anti-war sentiment, the band quickly diverged from their contemporaries. The name of the record was originally War Pigs, however, it was changed by their record label for numerous reasons. First, the label thought that the name War Pigs would not help the record sell to those that supported the ongoing Vietnam War, as War Pigs was obviously a stab at the war. Second, they wanted to change the name of War Pigs to Paranoid after the rousing success that the single Paranoid was, as it was released prior to the album's release. This album's cover was created with the mindset the name was going to be War Pigs, as it depicts a giant pig with this armor holding this giant sword. By the time they changed it to Paranoid, it was too late, so they just kept it. And it's actually remarkable that this album is as good as it is. For starters, it was recorded between June 16th and June 21st of 1970 at Regent Sound Studio and Island Studios in London, England. This is already an incredibly short amount of time to record an album, not to mention the fact that they had already released an album about 4 months prior to this. Maybe this short turnaround time was actually beneficial to them in the end, as they couldn't overthink some of the things that they were doing and they just simply had to go with it. In the end, this album is not too heavy or dense with noise, as it opts to be powerful with the sounds that it already has. Whatever it was, it helped Black Sabbath push forward a new genre entirely, as this is more or less the creation of heavy metal. More on this when we look at the singles. Paranoid was mixed and produced by Roger Bain and was eventually released on September 18th, 1970 on Vertigo Records. Paranoid, the title track off this record, was the first single to be released in August of 1970. As stated earlier, the album's name was changed to capitalize on the success of Paranoid, as it reached and topped at number 4 on the UK charts. However, this song wasn't always the centerpiece of the record. It was actually written as an afterthought. This song was notoriously written in only 20 minutes after Iommi had stumbled upon this riff while messing around on his guitar. Ozzy quickly wrote lyrics to the song and voila, Paranoid was born. It's crazy to think that this wildly popular and influential song was only written to be a 3-minute filler for the rest of the album. Paranoid is technically the only real single for this album. Iron Man was released as a single in the US. This song would be a breakthrough for the band, as it helped them develop a cult following in the States, so much so that it actually became viable for them to cross the pond and play in America. This song never charted well, but the cult following would actually end up pushing Iron Man into the charts. When Ozzy first heard the riff for this song, he said it sounded, quote, like a big iron bloke walking around. The lyrics were written after the riff, telling the story of an iron giant who is traveling through time to watch the world's end and humanity's demise. This song has been used in pop culture for so many years, from being mocked and turned into songs like I Am Santa Claus, to even being the first song that Jack Black teaches his students in the movie School of Rock. I mean, this is easily one of the most recognizable riffs ever to be created, and I'm sure you know that already. Although Electric Funeral is technically the third single, as it is the B-side to Iron Man, I would much rather take this time and talk about War Pigs, Luke's Wall. This track was originally titled Walpurgis, after the satanic version of Christmas, but was later changed after the album's name was changed from War Pigs to Paranoid. Not to mention the record label wasn't too keen on naming it after a black magic wedding. The name Luke's Wall only appears on the US version, as it is technically the name of the second half of the track. Geezer actually wrote most of the lyrics for this track, as it talks about death and destruction, calling out those who are pro-Vietnam and pro-war in general. Many artists have covered this song over the years, from Fish and Faith No More to Weezer and Ween. And this is actually my favorite Black Sabbath song, and that's not because I'm a self-centered asshole who is just happy that the second half of the song is called Luke's Wall. Black Sabbath's legacy is one that still holds strong to this very day. I mean, who would have ever thought that Ozzy Osbourne would be featured in a Post Malone track? Like, what is 2019? Despite even Ozzy's solo success, this album means more for the birth of heavy metal than almost any other record. The ideas used on this record, specifically the fuzzy and heavy riffs on the guitars, would be carried out for years to come. It's one of those records that just ages like fine wine as it becomes more and more relevant in today's society. Once thought of as Satan worshippers who just wanted to watch the world crumble, Black Sabbath are now seen as forefathers of dark music that uses these socially and politically charged lyrics. While most people wanted to watch Black Sabbath burn at the stake for their quote-unquote sins, the band relentlessly attacked their critics, who were the same warmongers that they were talking about in their songs. This album pushed forward with new ideas and helped shape the world of music that would become years and years later. To put it simply, Paranoid changed the course of music history, and especially for those who are dealing with heavier rock. So, whether you've never heard this record before, or if it is one of your personal favorites, Black Sabbath's Paranoid will always be forever spinning. Thanks for watching.